FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is April 30th, 2020. Well, the only thing on anybody's mind right now is the coronavirus, and when can we leave our homes, go back to our jobs, and go back to our lives, go back to your life, go back to my life. I mean, my life is kind of the same. I do my podcast, I do my recordings from my home. So I've been working from home for 7 years, but the rest of my life is totally non-existent. I go for a bike ride and I eat and I sleep and that's it. And you're probably in the similar boat. Well, hopefully it's going to end soon. We've got some sound medical advice coming up on how you deal with it. And we'd love to hear your opinion, how you're coping with the crisis and what you've been doing. Are you closer with your friends and your family as a result? Just send us an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. That's kl@kerrylutz.com. Well, I'm really pleased to have on with us Dr. Stephen Sinatra, an MD. And Dr. Sinatra, you have been dealing with these issues. You've been in practice quite a while. So why is the corona different than all the other viruses?
I've been on the phone with my colleagues on this virus and everything, and one thing I do know, this virus is changing day to day. So what we said maybe a week ago, we may be altering it or changing it. I know on my website on heartmdinstitute.com, we have a running long essay on the coronavirus. Okay, but anyway, like I said before, I'm in touch with my colleagues, and this virus is changing day to day. So what we said a few weeks ago, some of it holds up, some of it may not. But I'll tell you this is more infectious than we thought it was.
Yeah, it's more infectious than we first thought.
Yeah, but it's a lot less lethal.
Yes.
I think that's where we're headed. It's more prevalent than we think it is because they're doing all this antibody testing, and the people have antibodies, and why should they have the antibodies unless they had the virus? His whole family was sick about 3 months ago.
Right.
They had fever and chills and headache, and he was really sick. And he said, "Dad, I think I had this," but they weren't calling it the coronavirus back then. They just call it influenza. So I think, this is something that we're seeing more and more. And hopefully with the warmer weather, this virus is very fastidious with the warmer weather and increase in humidity.
So the warmer weather is going to have a big impact on it, isn't it? And as a result, we're going to see diminishing cases. And when you look at the map of the United States, you see that a lot of the really bad areas, other than perhaps New Orleans, are in the northern part, like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, where they've really gotten it bad, right?
First outbreaks in San Francisco and stuff like that. So you're absolutely correct. I think the warmer weather is going to make a big difference for the southern states. I really do.
Yeah, well, we hope you are correct there. And it appears to be, look, the rate at which the virus was doubling. At one point, it was like every 2 or 3 days. Now we've got places like in Seattle where they have so few new cases coming. So one Israeli statistician, professor of statistics and higher math, PhD, said he studied it in every country. It basically lasts for 70 days and then it's gone. You think he might have a point?
He might. I mean, what he could be talking about is, viruses.
Yeah.
So we might see this virus again, let's say in Florida, maybe again in November or December or January. But remember this, the more people who get the virus, the more herd immunity we're going to have. So when you have people with herd immunity, with lots of people getting it, that means it's going to be tougher and tougher to get for new de novo cases of the virus expressed.
Yeah, exactly.
With the coronavirus and the COVID-19 and the SARS virus, all these viruses in a way are connected. I'm just hoping that if we see 2 or 3 cycles of this, it'll burn itself out.
Yeah, it's very.
So I'm a little
likely.
Optimistic as opposed to pessimistic.
Yeah, well, what about what Dr. Fauci came up with, Fauci and all the others. Should we have shut down the global economy for this thing? What's your thoughts?
I have seen virulent viruses in my 40 plus years of being a doctor, and I've worked in ICUs and CCUs, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that viruses are lethal situations. But when I was a younger doctor, I was working day and night in the ICU and CCU with stuff like this. So I don't know if this is different. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to find out one way or the other, right?
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. I mean, I'm hoping that this virus is, although a bad one, I'm hoping that it'll disappear after 2 or 3 cycles. Just like the SARS did.
Right. Which is probably what's going to happen. Look, I'm sure you've treated a lot of influenza cases during your career, Dr. Sinatra.
Absolutely. Yep.
And look, when you got a person in a nursing home who's probably compromised, got a bunch of comorbidities, a common cold is enough oftentimes to kill them, right?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's all about your immune system. And, if you're a male or your older age, if you're diabetic and you have hypertension at the same time and you're on a few medications, you're in double handcuffs, so to speak. So all those comorbidities, and, they add up after a while. But again, if you work on your immune system, you eat a less sugary diet, you eat more healthy fats and proteins, you take a lot of vitamins and minerals, you take some targeted nutritional supplements. I think this virus can be handled, but again, the secret is fortifying your own immune system.
Yeah. So I was watching a video where you said lower carbs
and more vitamin D or grounding, or I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. I mean, it's unbelievable, but you can fortify your immune system, make you stronger and more resistant to getting the complications of this virus.
Yeah. Well, so if there's 3 things you could do to right now tell everybody out there who's listening to us, 3 things you could do to fortify your immune system, what would they be?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Osino Resources is a Ross Beatty-backed gold exploration company in mining-friendly Namibia. Osino's district-scale land package is situated near 2 producing gold mines, one of which Osino's management team previously developed and sold to B2 Gold. Osino's founders and management are experienced mining professionals who have already successfully developed and sold 2 companies in the past 7 years. Osino has a tight share structure, and with its current treasury, it can self-fund the advancement of its gold discovery into at least 2022. This is an exploration company with drills turning that you'll definitely want to pay attention to. Osino trades in New York under the ticker OSIIF and in Toronto under the ticker OSI. To learn more, go to osinoresources.com. That's osinoresources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Okay, the 3 things you can do. All right, number 1, I would say eat less sugar for sure. Eat more healthy fats, more healthy proteins. Take in a lot of olive oil. Build up your polyphenols, because again, viruses love sugar, and sugar depresses white blood cells. So you want to avoid sugar. Number 2, I would ground in the sun. At the same time, put your bare feet on the ground and take in Mother Earth energy. We call it the Schumann effect. And we've shown in our research that when you do ground, you do support the overall immune system, and you sort of attenuate the autonomic nervous system, so your fight-flight response gets a little bit attenuated. My third situation would be this. I would take targeted nutritional supplements. I really would. I would take everything from curcumin to resveratrol to quercetin. Quercetin is found in onions, for example, and apples and black tea, but you can take it as a supplement. Old-fashioned vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams.
Yeah, 1,000 milligrams.
I mean, you can get them online and stuff like that. I love a supplement called NAC, N-A-C. It's called N-acetylcysteine. They've done research on this supplement, and basically it attenuates the flu. In other words, it can knock the flu down by 2 or 3 days. And the way it works, Kerry, is that whenever you take N-acetylcysteine, it's a building block for glutathione.
Yeah.
powerful anti-immune function in the body. So if you do that, you are really rocketing your immune system. I like astragalus as an herb, and there's a mushroom preparation. It's called AHCC. I like it. I was first introduced to it about 2 years ago from a Seattle researcher. It supports what we call natural killer cell activity, which means that if you are exposed to a bacterium or a viral illness, your natural killer cells will help to eradicate the foreign invader more quickly. So these are a few targeted nutritional supplements. So my big three again, to summarize: sunlight, grounding, getting fresh air, taking targeted nutraceuticals, and less sugar. Remember, less sugar in the diet, and I think your immune system will soar, will be on a higher level. And once you do that, then if the virus crosses your path, you have a deer slayer inside of you. You have something working on your side to really combat, this very noxious virus that could take some people down, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, we know that for sure. It has, and perhaps the threat for normal, healthy people has been greatly exaggerated. We know 7,000 approximately cases studied closely by New York State. In those cases, the people, 99.2%, had some underlying comorbidity that did them in. So that would really mean that a healthy person, and perhaps the other 0.8% they don't even know or they couldn't detect, but a healthy person really has almost no risk from this, but they could spread it, granted.
You're absolutely right. And I would say one more thing to your listeners. If you're overweight, and if you can lose a mere 5 or 10 pounds, use the virus as a reframe and losing weight, eat less, get more exercise, go out in the sun, walk in the streets, blah, blah, blah. If you can lose a little weight, remember this, Kerry, these inflammatory cytokines, they live in fat cells. So if you take away fat cells by loss of weight, now you're taking away the home where these inflammatory components live. When you do that, you lessen the viral load in your body. So these are little secrets that anybody can do to offset this threatening virus. So I love weight loss in situations like this. It really works. It's magical.
And obesity, obviously, we've learned that you're much more apt to get the disease if you're obese. So,
and
that ties in with the sugar and
the type 2 diabetes.
Right, type 2.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, because I'm on the edge, pre-diabetic, and I've kept it off all these years. Sometimes it's gotten the better of me when I've gotten too much weight, but when I get the weight down, even 5 pounds, it makes a total difference in all of my blood numbers. And I'm not diabetic, then I'm pre-diabetic. So
you're right on the cusp. And I'll tell you this, Kerry, there's 100 million diabetics in this country right now, out of 340 million people. And these are either type 2s or insulin resistant or full-blown, type 1 diabetics. But I got to tell you, what you just said and what I said, I hope your listeners take in. A mere 5 or 10 pounds can make literally, I mean, I don't want to be scary about it, but
life and death.
It could mean a life or death. It really could be.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Sinatra. And myself, I always worked out. That's probably been my saving grace. For the past 37 years, I've been working out in the gym with a few notable gaps of a year or two here or there where my life gets disrupted for whatever reason. But of course, the gym is closed. That's the worst thing for me. So I've been riding 10, 15 miles 5 days a week, sometimes 20 on the bike. And hey, it's healthy. I get the sun. I'm outdoors. It's really great. And, because you're in Florida too, there's so few cars on the road. It's safer riding your bike now than it has ever been since I've lived in Florida.
That's the reframe. What a great reframe, isn't it? I mean, look how much clearer the air is.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
Oh, my God. And the water.
I saw a sunset last night that blew me away. The air is so clear.
Yeah, well, but, sometimes not having pollution for the wrong reasons, not such a great thing. If we were all driving electric cars and then we saw these great sunsets, that would be wonderful. And I'm not advocating that everybody drive an electric car, of course, but doctor, so those three things, but really with the emphasis on the weight loss, that's going to do far more for you than any of the supplements. Supplements are not a supplement for healthy living and changing your lifestyle.
Correct.
Or a substitute, I should say, a substitute, not a supplement. So you really need to be looking at this. And so effectively what you're saying is you really can avoid coronavirus, even if you do get exposed. I'm quite certain I was exposed multiple times to it from people who thought they had the flu. They got it like right after I saw them. So they had to have been infected already. I had a little sniffles and sore throat before I even knew about the coronavirus. And honestly, you're a medical professional. Are you going around totally crazy, panic stricken by the coronavirus, wearing a mask to bed or in the car or when you're walking down the street?
I mean, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but when I go shopping in the supermarket, I haven't gone, let's say, to Publix for about 10 to 12 days. But it was interesting. I brought a face mask with me, but I didn't put it on because when I went to the supermarket, I only saw a dozen people in there, and I'm saying, oh my gosh. No, I just feel that I'm just so optimistic about this. Mm-hmm. If you really watch yourself, in other words, you don't have to go to extremes here, but just be careful. I think washing hands is important.
Yeah,
when you're handling the mail or stuff like that.
You should do it anyway.
6 foot. I like the 6 feet situation. I'm not flying by airplane. I haven't done that. But if you just use a little common sense here, and just be productive without being self-destructive. And if you can do that, I think we'll all get through this. I really do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I might have had 1 or 2 days of anxiety over this, but since then, I've been totally at peace with it. I'm pretty healthy. Probably person my age, 62 years old, probably in the 85th to 90th percentile in terms of health. I could be a little thinner. My blood numbers could be a little better, but thank God. Okay. But really, when you start getting into your 60s, your 70s, health really equals lifestyle, doesn't it?
It does. And you have to practice preventive medicine every day. And it includes everything you talked about, getting some exercise, getting some sunlight, doing some earthing and grounding, eating a non-inflammatory diet. All these things are so important. I used to tell my patients when I was working in the office day to day, I would say, look, I want to see you in a year, but I need you to be your own doctor. And I used to empower them with that, with knowledge. And once a patient starts to take responsibility for their own selves and, eat a healthier diet and do some good, lifestyle situations that empower them and empower their health, it works miracles. It really does. And I'll tell you, I'm a doctor that came from a diabetic family. My mother was diabetic. My grandmother was diabetic. So I practice what I preach. I mean, I really watch my weight. And when my weight goes up, I just immediately, stop eating because I just know that weight gain can be a real factor in diabetes. It's the Achilles heel, believe me.
Oh, totally. And most of the diseases that we encounter in our older age, in our old age, in our later life are directly attributable to our lifestyle, right? 80% of what kills people, it's all about lifestyle, whether it's diabetes, heart disease, smoking, excessive consumption of alcohol, bad diet, all these things. Hey, what's your opinion of a high protein diet with some fat as opposed to the high carbohydrate diet or the food pyramid of yesteryear?
Oh, the high carbohydrate diet is out. I mean, that's a high sugary diet. I mean, just forget about it. I mean, if you get, like, let's say 35 to 40% of your calories from carbs, that's fine. If you can get like 35% from healthy fats, like monounsaturated fats like olive oil, even saturated fats. I'm not going to throw saturated fats under the bus. I mean, will they bump your cholesterol? Sure it will. But, I'm not a big believer in a cholesterol theory of heart disease. The only problem with saturated fats is that they may contain more chemicals and pollutants, so you got to be really careful about which fats you choose. So if you're eating meats, for example, you want to go organic as much as possible. And then, when it comes down to basically omega-3s, I love them, whether it's squid oil or the omega-3s from fish oil. I absolutely love omega-3s because they're anti-inflammatory. So a little less protein, maybe 25%, 20% protein, more healthy fat, and less carbohydrate. That's the non-inflammatory diet. That's the Mediterranean diet, which I strongly endorse.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed, and a doctor told me to take fish oil. Some of it is better than others, but it lowers my triglycerides. I've never seen any other substance that actually lowers triglycerides.
Well, yeah, I mean, the omega-3s are great for triglyceride lowering. Actually, we just wrote a paper and submitted, actually it's been accepted for publication, where there are certain probiotic strains, the lactobacilli, that lower triglycerides, which is good. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. But again, if you do less carbohydrates, less sugars, your carbohydrate, these triglycerides will go down. So, even more exercise will help with triglycerides. So, and the more you become less diabetic, remember the Achilles heel of a diabetic is high triglycerides as well.
Mm-hmm. And that also ties in with the vitamin D. And so vitamin D, I never knew, but when I came to Florida, the doctor checked my vitamin D. I had low vitamin D, and I started taking a supplement.
Even in Florida, huh? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I guess, I didn't get enough sun. I don't know. And I started taking 5,000 units a day. It went away like instantly. It's also a mood stabilizer, vitamin D.
Oh, vitamin D is great for you. I strongly recommend it. I take 2,000 to 5,000 units a day myself. I strongly believe in the merits of vitamin D.
Yeah, and pre-diabetic diabetes, it's very common for you to be low in vitamin D.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
One other thing about the coronavirus, I've heard it being treated with a combination of hydroxychloroquine, erythromycin, and zinc and vitamin C. That all kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. And some of my colleagues, which I've been in touch with, they recommend it. But they all say you have to start it early. In other words, this is something that you start as an outpatient. And the problem is if you start it too late, you may not get the effect that you wanted to get. So it's an early intervention.
Right. And that's the whole thing, that only allowing hospitals to treat people with it prevents the early onset, the early treatment, because you can't get it until you're in the hospital, and then it's too late. It's a real catch-22, and it makes you wonder what the whole medical system is all about. Well, we'll leave it at that.
Oh, it's so confusing. I got to tell you, I see doctors on television, and they put it down, and I'm saying, you know what the hypocrisy is? This is unbelievable. You're afraid to use hydroxychloroquine with a virus that can kill you, but 19,000 people a year die from taking aspirin. Simple aspirin.
Wow, I had no idea.
And you're a doctor, and you're going to tell somebody, oh, you may have a prolonged QT interval, you may get an arrhythmia, you shouldn't take this hydroxychloroquine. They're out of their minds. If it's life-saving, I can't see why a 5-day trial of it, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, me neither. And I don't get a lot of things about the way this has been handled. But hey, it is what it is, and you got to make the most of it. It is what it is,
and remember, experience is the best teacher.
Yeah. Hey,
so hopefully we'll be around 6 months from now, and when it comes back again, we can deal better with it.
Yeah, and hopefully this thing's going to be gone. And if it does come back in the fall, the winter, we have a much better idea how to deal with it. And the hydroxychloroquine combined with the Zithromax and others, vitamin C, I've heard them using the equivalent of Pepsid and other things to treat it, appears to be effective, according to that world-famous French virologist who's treated over 1,000 patients with it. But time is of the essence. And I don't know, I was thinking of stocking up on tonic water, but I don't think it has quite enough quinine in it.
I can't give you a professional opinion on that one. I'm sorry. I just don't know.
What's interesting about gin and tonic is, they figured out that quinine helped malaria, and the English army personnel were in Asia, and the taste of taking quinine was horrible. So they mixed it with soda water and then sugar, and it tasted a little better. And then they poured in their monthly ration of gin, and they evidently liked the taste. And that's why we have gin and tonic now as a result of malaria. It's quite amusing when you think about it.
I never knew that. You just taught me something. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's why. And there used to be a lot more quinine in the tonic water, but now that there's other ways to treat malaria and that it's a recreational beverage, I don't particularly like it myself, but now that it's a recreational mixer, they've cut it back to 83 milligrams, I think, per liter maybe, or per bottle. I'm not sure which. I know it's 83 milligrams, and so it's not really effective treating malaria. You have to drink 10 liters of it. So in any event.
Yeah, it's like red wine with resveratrol.
Yeah.
You have to drink several liters to get the resveratrol. By the way, resveratrol is one of my favorite supplements against the virus because it can prevent viral replication. So I do like resveratrol up to a couple 100 milligrams a day as well.
Yeah. I haven't started taking that yet, but I've read about the benefits. Anyways, we are up, but Doctor, just tell us where we can find you, Dr. Sinatra, and how do we connect with you on the web?
Oh, yeah. My websites are heartmdinstitute.com. There's a lot of information on the coronavirus. You just click onto it. So go to Heartmd Institute. Sorry, it's a long name, .com. And then I have a healthy food website called Vervana.com, VERVANA.com.
Excellent.
And, I'm a big believer in healthy foods and stuff like that.
All right. We'll have a link in the show notes to this interview on Financial Survival Network. And make sure you check out our Twitter feed is at Kerry Lutz, Facebook page, Financial Survival Network, and our main website, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Doctor, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Kerry, you too. It's been fun. God bless.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.